This is Chapter 8 of Hack the Law of Attraction, the Quantum Code to the Mastermind System. The title of the chapter, Principles for Observation and Hyper-Awareness. This chapter has been written with the intent to give you hyper-awareness. It is designed to provide you with high-frequency thinking patterns that enhance your powers of observation and interpretation of energy. Remember, Nikola Tesla said that if you wanted to find the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of frequency and vibration. I designed this book as intended not to be read just once, but for you to read many times. It will bring you massive hyper-realism and awareness of this training. Also, all these principles of awareness will serve you to program your mind and allow you to hack the law of magnetic attraction. It will work fast and efficiently for you. Relative principles define life the way zeros and ones quantify. What you observe is only relative to equal or opposite reactions. The number 0 helps define concepts that define the number 1. Ones or units of measure define and allow zeros to be a concept. Bigger numbers exist because the mind discerns that a unit could be replicated or divided among an infinite number of parts. These simple premises define life the same way a computer coder programs a game with all its relative components. The most successful people are successful because they are hyper-realists. They accept life as it presents itself and allow its relative components to help them define who they are. Unsuccessful people desire to define others as they think they should be. Both players will entangle their energy of creation with bodies of mass relative to who they think they are. The strong can only be defined by the relative experience of weakness. Happiness defines the concept of sadness. An anti-hero or enemy can only define a hero. A mission or journey can only be defined by a spectrum of perceived pain and pleasure. The ebbs and flows of life will always be defined by the words we use to define things and concepts. Pictures in the mind can only be quantified by the experience of the outside world. The mind uses spoken words, amplify vocal vibrations that describe the final picture. This principle ironically defines whether you will succeed or not. This principle defines your experience with words that become your actions and reactions to life. Yes, your individual self-definitions force life to present itself to you as everything else that allows you to define yourself as such. Your sadness defines your happiness because you've been there before. Your wealth is also defined by other people's relative prosperity or poverty. If everyone were special, no one would be. If everyone were perfect, no one would be. A black dot suspended in an infinite white space would become the core of attention. All awareness would center on it and expand it. Haven't you seen the black sky? It is only relevant to the specks of white light that shine through it. Quote, neither do you light a lamp and put it under a measuring basket, but on a stand, and it shines to all who are in the house. Let your light shine before men. End quote. taken from Matthew chapter 5, verse 15. It is your moral obligation to know the light of your being, but it can only be defined by what seems to be an infinite, ubiquitous darkness. In a game, the avatar hero is constantly persecuted by the game's parameters. But it's not the story, the hero's journey, the thing that enthralls you the most? How can the heroes be anything other than heroes if their best teachers, the hero's enemies, do not show up to challenge the hero's definition of self? All quintessential energy in the universe is primed in one direction by the natural forces of the universe: chaos and destruction. And, like the game, it causes havoc in your life if you decide to stand still. It will erode your life until it literally kills you. Not hyperbole, but it is a fact of nature. Objective observation of life demands that you adapt and accept that life is a massive cloud of possibility. It demands that you accept that life is an impossible confrontation of entropy. But it is life that sustains itself via consciousness. Your mere observation of it places it in place and adds energy to it. Yes, you give your life. Yes, Einstein could not connect the fundamental forces to gravity because he failed to realize consciousness creates gravity. Conscious observation entangles all energy observed. The one experimenting is the biggest variable. In your life, you are its most significant variable, and you self-gravitate all experiences. Yes, you are a massive black hole taking in the energy of life, and when you have drawn in enough coded definitions to yourself, you will explode a quasar of energy, literally recreating your universe. Life will shift to your self-definitions of life to mirror what you believe to be true. You literally are the center of your own universe. Transformation only happens in response to a need. People observe pain, suffering, and chaos, but no real change occurs unless they are desperate for such change. Patterns of thinking and action become cemented via magnetic rhythm. Most need to see how consequences reflect their quality of life. Yes, the quality of your philosophy about life will determine the quality of your life. It is the law of the universe. Your inability to change because you are comfortable with a bit of pain and discomfort will eventually become your biggest downfall. Einstein said your current problems could not be solved with the same thinking patterns that created them. Tesla called them, quote unquote, inexorable agents that prevent a mass from changing. The problem is that all of our systems of thought have taught you to give your power away. It seems at some point we were a civilization that have fully integrated full responsibility and personal integrity with the ramifications of quantum mechanics in the mind. Someone felt threatened and subdued a civilization that had evolved enough to threaten such perceived power. Most systems of thought currently in place demand that you give up your thinking ability and project all your life force to systems that promise you the world. They have proven to only give you pain and suffering. In turn, they blame you and say that it is you who is wrong, even though you are making obvious observations. The only systems and teachings that work are the ones that remind you that the power is in you, not outside of you. The people or systems that remind you of the truth will always be demonized, and propaganda campaigns will always come out to crush their efforts to remind you of who you are. Still, it may mean that you will not wake up to what you can do until you reach mass critical failure. This will happen individually and collectively, but such extreme circumstances are not necessary. Make necessary changes before the universe forces you to deal with a literal or figurative world war. It is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Consider these examples. If you always fear unfaithfulness from a partner, you will always attempt to fill your void with unending confirmation and validation. You will confuse being in love with loving the self through others. You will always crave a fix. This principle applies to your relationships with money, work, and even your health. Your need for others becomes a business transaction where you feel inadequate and resentful the second you don't receive what you think you need from the other. You will always feel like a victim. You must learn to trust others because you don't have to. Because you know that even if you experience the worst case scenario of your fears, you are aware you will be just fine. Ironically, it is only in this state that you can prove to show real unconditional love. Life then shifts to give you what you want unconditionally. Do you understand the parameters of truth? Some people say truth is objective, and others say it is subjective. Quantum mechanics suggests it is both. It may sound like a strange dichotomy, but there is clarity when considering quantum mechanics and how the mind works. First, there are parameters that people must accept before they claim their truth is unquestionable and infallible. The first parameter teaches us to understand that we are born into the world with a clean slate. We are born with the mind ready to be programmed to accept codes that affect the molecular structure of our body. Without question, you accepted what daddy and mommy told you was true and why it was true. Most people have yet to be taught to consider this filter that is undeniably integrated into the experience of people's life. The second parameter teaches us to understand that your bloodline came into the world and went through the same process. The third parameter teaches us to understand that during your upbringing, you could not help but accept the beliefs and accepted teachings from your inherited environment. You accepted all data without question. The fourth parameter teaches us to accept the nature of knowledge and its progressive, infinite progressions. Take math, for example. Basic numbers have been integrated into algebra, physics, trigonometry, biology, differential equations, and calculus. Math systems continue to apply upward like a tree that branches outward. You must integrate concepts of perspective and perception in the same way. The fifth parameter is accepting the effects of brain mechanics and how your mind is open to suggestions. Yes, there are literal hacks and master keys that, if you don't become aware thereof, will corrupt your thinking ability and become prone to manipulation. This manipulation is done effectively and masterfully in marketing. You are convinced to buy and give up time, energy, and resources as others persuade you to buy into what they are selling you. Do you know what these keys are? How aware are you of how false perceived authority is used against you? How aware are you that when others force you to think about your pain, trains you to look for solutions to your symptoms and not the cause? How do they do it? Easy. Think of a red turtle. Not green, not blue, not orange, not purple. Think of a red turtle. Do you notice you could not help but think of a red turtle? But even though I said do not think of a green, blue, orange, or purple turtle, you could not help but see those colors in your mind's eye. See, I did it again. As you listen to these words, you think about a turtle in all those colors. These techniques have been upgraded and are used expertly in marketing and books to bypass your mind's control and critical thinking. Are you aware of how visual aids help them bypass your critical thinking and force you to accept a product or service labeled potentially deadly? Did you know that as long as a message is repeated and sensationalized with fear over time intervals, it will force you to believe it is true? Did you know that, like a tuning fork, you are being bombarded by messages designed to lull you into a state of submissiveness and acceptance? What for are they priming you? I'll give you an example. Have you noticed how celebrity athletes get paid massive amounts of money to endorse products they would never use? The final parameter and most important one is this. Quantum mechanics has demonstrated without a doubt that observation changes the molecular structure of everything that is naturally simply observed. Then, a reality observed with a mind full of subjective experience, interpreted with massive amounts of filters, is changed drastically. This concept is true because observation literally adds energy or particles by the observer to what they naturally observe. This principle is why isolation is deadly and the worst of punishments. This principle teaches you why loneliness leads to illness, disease, and premature death. These concepts teach us that billions of observers living on the planet are changing what is being observed at the Planck scale. Yes, the molecular structure of the planet is being shifted by the subjective interpretation of each individual. And that is the problem. It has been my objective observation that most people are not even remotely aware of these parameters. There are hundreds of books and tons of scientific research that aptly expand and clarify these things. And like number systems, these subjects have been expanding and are refined. And this is how people accept and define their ultimate accepted truths. This lack of awareness is why parents' sins cycle upon their children down many generations. The irony, it seems, is that we have bodies and minds that should have known these parameters of understanding as staples for life. These observations and parameters of awareness are our inheritance that should have been given at birth and through the early stages of individual development. It is like someone came and stole it from you. It is like someone took away this awareness and knowledge from the collective. How did it happen? Who is involved? I plan to write a book on that in the future, so look forward to that. But you can't get your inheritance back. Read Blueprint for Immortality, the quantum code for life's secrets to success. Also, Life is a Game, the quantum code for life's principles for success. Both books will give you back your awareness so you can define the common denominators of how life naturally defines truth. The difference between all spirituality versus quantum spirituality. Read this carefully with the intent of grasping this fact. Quantum mechanics suggests that all potential realities exist simultaneously, Via quantum superposition, life literally materializes in front of you. Quantum superposition says that all potential reality must exist for existence to be experienced. It allows for all perceived choices with all of their potential consequences. This idea is a massive secret because it suggests that your choice, whether through fear or faith, a whole story must spring from your thought about it. Faith focuses on a desired image in your mind with its assured expectation. Fear is focusing on an undesired image in your mind with its assured expectation. The mechanics are the same since it is your thought control that decides what the preferred and most predominant vision is. What you don't know or may not know is that quantum superposition says that the image must happen in your reality. Yes, a literal countdown begins to bring you that imagined reality as long as you hold on to the image. The infinite intelligence programmed into the universe then goes into effect to fill in the gap of the story between where you are to where you are telling it you desire to be. So, whether your thought is that of an unwanted experience or a true desire, it does not matter. This concept is true because particle physics explains that nature hates vacuums of space. It strongly wants for space to be filled up with a similar pattern. It also hates disharmony and will force natural patterns to manifest. To illustrate, if you are driving and decide to leave enough space between your car and the car in front of you during traffic, life will naturally manifest a vehicle moving into the vacuum you are leaving open. You may factually experience being cut off. Have you also noticed how most parking lots closest to the building are filled first? What happens as spaces open up? Nature will force power vacuums to be refilled by the quantum field with a similar power signature or frequency. Positions of responsibility will be filled by the quantum field promptly since the vacuum of space draws in all energy necessary to fill the void left. Magnetic hypnotism makes it hard to remove inexorable agents of mass imprinting an already programmed space. The contextual field defines the previous space and energy. Energy masses are stacked and imprint the literal space it occupies with their signature. For example, many people who have suffered accidents and experience loss of limbs will tell you that they will still feel their leg or arm even after being severed. Yes, the energy leaves an intangible imprint, and the space is left with a residual energy signature or effect. This residual energetic signature may also explain why people who lose loved ones may sometimes feel the presence of loved ones in their immediate space after they have been long gone. Yes, space gets programmed with bodies of coded mass. It affects the surrounding space, either filling it with a stench or blessing it. Be careful, for your space will naturally become hypnotized with the natural vibrations of that which you decide to fill your immediate area. What symbols and pictures are on your walls? What books have you stacked in your libraries? What movies are part of your collection? What kind of shrines or gadgets draws your attention daily? What has become the habit for which you decide to observe and flow mental particles? This effect of frequencies from objects on your personal space hints of why your televisions and cellular phones are designed to bombard you with tuning frequencies. Your cells like tuning forks, feed efficiently from the energy you give them via your mental focus. Your environment serves as a tuning fork, for you cannot help but be affected by the objects in your space and their most predominant coded energy. This physics principle teaches you why choosing one and only one mental focus for what you desire to experience is essential. The mechanics of quantum superposition tells you that you must surrender your desire to know how it can happen. You surrender your desire to the universe because the void between the now you and your envisioned future self is filled instantly with best suited energy by the quantum field. You could never outcompute the living library of infinite intelligence. You cannot outcompute God's quantum computer to decode the shortest route from where you are to where you desire to be. Another way of saying this is, you could never know the unfathomable mind of God, nor would you be able to tell God what is the best way to get your vision. It would be ludicrous to think that you could tell God the shortest route to your highest vision of self. Yes, the difference between the old and the new spirituality is accepting that you already qualify for your highest vision of self because God already qualified you. It is your divine right to receive that which you desire. You already qualify because God will remove impurities and refine you to match the frequency of your ultimate self-image. It is the alchemy of the universe, and God will remove inexorable agents that are preventing you from changing. God or life will broadcast energy into your being via new knowledge, using the time to modify your thinking until you finally change. Yes, via your consistent broadcast, life will feed you a loop of new energy and experience necessary to change the broadcast of your being. Your new thinking will naturally program your new space. This is why change seems painful. It is painful because as you focus on your final vision, everything else that does not support or match your desired vision within your space of experience is removed. You will lose jobs, friends, and family. This experience happens because these outside influences no longer match what you are becoming. Nature hates disharmony within the confines of a defined space. It will shift everything around you until your space matches your 24/7 vibration. Magnetism is the law that defines why the rich get richer and the poor become poor. If $1 trillion were to be printed, and money is printed every day and given to the poor, it would only be a matter of time before those funds are transferred to those who are wealth conscious, whether you perceive them to be good or bad. The chasm becomes polarized, and those who continue to think that life is unfair and that they are only victims will more heavily imprint their slavery into their being. It is not a money problem. It is a quantum physics problem. Is this why the cause of the altruist is a never-ending process? Is that why Jesus said, quote unquote, "You will always have the poor with you"? Taken from Matthew chapter 26, verse 11. It is time to work within the confines of universal rules defined by nature. It is not complicated. You have to be willing to read a little every day and supply yourself to accurate knowledge. We can change the world collectively, but it starts with factual observations. It starts with you deciding to change. It begins with you accepting that you need to become the change you desire to see. When enough people worldwide rise from the despondent frequencies of chaos, fear, and victimhood, that energy, like a tuning fork, can naturally change the broadcasts of the majority. It is the law of the universe. In my books, I teach you how to use your mind to quantify the best thing you can do better than most. It is a fact that you came into this world with specific parameters that can most efficiently help you achieve your grandest vision of self. Some have called these concepts your soul purpose or soul desire. Some call it your dharma. These parameters define clearly what you are here to do and why. It represents your path of less resistance without feeling like you owe your life to save the world. With this knowledge, you will clearly define your heart's gifts and contributions that will make the most impact. Not what others think you should follow. They could never know. Only you can know. The new awareness of who we are is telling you this is true. If you don't consider it, I will guarantee the following. You will lose yourself in secular dogma as the world and the ways of opinions of the sea of humanity toss you about because you don't know who you are. You will be lost in religious dogma and the mere subjective interpretations of all manuscripts. You will drown in confusion and frustration as the world forces you to perceive that the world is against you. You will be lost from job to job, career to career, guru to guru, expert to expert, wondering who will be the one to save you. And even if you achieve what society considers success, don't you know that your happiness does not result from the things you have? When your energy is polarized, you create nuclear explosions, sometimes literally. The law of attraction is also the law of friction. The same principle in nature that magnetizes energy will violently separate dissimilar frequencies. The same space cannot contain polarized vibrations. It will first compartmentalize them, if at most. Ultimately, it can rip life apart and create figurative or literal nuclear bombs. Chaos and destruction are the results of massive entropy. Negative thinking is always supported by entropy. The principles of magnetic rhythms are staunch in perpetuating and solidifying all energy. Nikola Tesla said it takes new knowledge to modify old thinking solidified by inexorable agents. Inexorable means that it is something hard to change. Humanity has suffered tremendously for not knowing what seems to be intrinsic knowledge. The implications of observation at a quantum level are the missing data to a collective consciousness that keeps crashing through life. Someone didn't want us to know, for it is the base of your power. Yes, your creative ability has been denied for too long by forces interested in profiting from extremely polarized energies. Your simple observation of life solidifies the experience of life. Yes, your simple awareness of it puts it in place. You make it solid and inexorable. Energy is always interpreted by a conscious observer. Your observations of life via imagination reinforce it. This awareness teaches you why you must do everything in your power to think about what you are thinking about. Prolonged thinking will cement and make your visions and agreements of what you believe life to be inexorable. Remember that words always define the imagined images in your mind. Therefore, the words you use are charged with coded intention. Words serve to affect the energy of your reality. Think about what you are thinking about. Think about what you are saying. Think about what you believe. Observe how life mirrors the things you say. It is the law of the universe. The second you realize this is true, you will change your mind. Change your mind, change your world. Do not neglect to quickly find your mission on earth. These thoughts have significance and are relevant to you. There are universal laws that get expressed through all time and space. Basic principles of thermodynamics describe one specific law. It is entropy that expresses through all systems of atomic mass. It says that all systems of particles, energy, are subject to a perpetual state of self-destruction. Yes, entropy erodes all systems of power. All energy is either moved, transferred, or change in form. It is a fundamental force of the universe. All life is hinged into a system of impossible defiance of entropy in life. Yes, time and space do not care whether you are good or bad. Like gravity, it will kill you if you attempt to defy it whether you think you are good or bad. The sooner you realize this, the faster you can know how to be at cause over it. All laws of physics interpreters serve under a single significant common denominator: observation by consciousness. Yes, all fundamental forces are held by consciousness. Your simple observation of the world adds natural, fundamental, universal, and pure energy. It keeps the world in place. It defies entropy, or it adds to it. How? The quality of your beliefs about life always determines the quality of your life. It works like this. Particle-wave duality, the basics of all quantum mechanics, suggests that congruency amplifies energy wave patterns, whether positive or negative. Similar vibrations cement and clump in a state of magnetic rhythm. These concepts have been defined as constructive resonance and destructive dissonance. But when there is discord or dissonance, energy warfare is manifested. Opposing energies will cancel each other out. Simply put, positive 5 minus 5 equals 0. Your consciousness can add either plus 5 or negative 5 to the entire observed equation. Entropy is attempting to balance the equation into 0. Your job is to unbalance the equation by adding to it. Entropy wants the timer to reach 0. Your job is to add time so the clock never runs out. Another way of saying this is that time is running out, but your consciousness either adds time to the clock by slowing it down, or you take time from it and speed up the clock. How? Your mental focus either builds your environment or takes away from it. Be objective and observe your surrounding environment and your daily experience of life. Observe that nature hates idleness. Literally, it makes you pay a high price for inactivity and isolation. Have you noticed patients in hospitals will develop bed sores from just sitting? Have you noticed how a pool needs constant care, or else it becomes a pond of dirty water? The pool will literally become a deadly poison. If you don't clean your house, will you not end up with nasty bugs and allow a toxic environment to dictate how you live? Will you not be exposed to more stress and illness if you don't change? In contrast, examine the opposite. A person that exercises and is consistently engaged in physical activity prospers. They benefit from healthy hormones, and a resilient body is made strong and fit due to proper exercise. A mind fed with positivity will manifest a better lifestyle. Friendships will either build you up or tear you apart. If you hang out with 5 dummies, you're probably number 6. If you hang out with 5 high energy individuals, you are probably the 6. Neutrality is an illusion, and principles of relativism will always tell you who you are by what the universe mirrors back to you. The laws operate at Planck time, therefore reality manifests before you can think about it. And the second you think about it, life changes. And by the time you have observed the new changes brought forth, the field is already changing. Your reality changes perpetually by law. Entropy is designed to feed you negative perceptions. Your conscious awareness is the only force that can add positivity to the equation. Entropy manifests aimless drifting, while consciousness attempts to express focused particle flow. Are you focused, or are you drifting through life, not knowing where you are heading? Yes, you either master life, or life will master you. You either make the world better, or you will be forced to work hard for those who make their world better. You either use your life to prosper, or your energy will be forced to be used to make other people prosper. The laws of physics prove the world is in chaos because you may not be exercising your will to become the best version of yourself. Your life's example is software attempting to replicate in your environment. These parameters create the proverbial chasm between the haves and the have-nots. These principles define how life works. These are the rules of the game. Yes, life is a game, and there is a quantum code that defines principles for your success. Do you know what they are? Are you winning the game of money? Are you winning the game of happiness? Are you winning the game of health? Are you winning the game of relationships? Or does it feel like you're drifting aimlessly and letting entropy rule what happens in your life? There are systems of protocol that support you to help you defeat entropy. Use the systems described in chapter 6 and 7. Also, add to your collection my other volumes: Blueprint for Immortality, The Quantum Code for Life's Secrets for Success, and Life is a Game, The Quantum Code for Life's Principles for Success, and more to come.